The sun rose like a well-rehearsed performance over Willow Creek, casting warm light over rows of identical homes nestled among whispering trees and clean sidewalks. Lawns were clipped with military precision. Sprinklers ticked rhythmically across flower beds lined with tulips and ornamental grass. On paper, it was the kind of neighborhood people fought to move into, the kind where crime felt fictional, and no one locked their doors out of necessity, but out of habit. But the thing about perfection? It's rarely real. Inside number 47 Elmwood Drive, Daniel Garner sat at the kitchen island in his crisp navy suit, staring into his black coffee like it owed him an answer. His tie was tight, his face clean-shaven, his jaw clenched like someone perpetually bracing for impact. Across the marble countertop, Linda moved with choreographed grace, placing strawberries on pancakes in neat rows, each slice symmetrical, the way Daniel liked it. Her blonde hair was pinned into a smooth bun, her pearl earrings catching the morning light. They hadn't spoken more than 3 sentences to each other. Not since last night's argument. Not since last week's silence. Not since years ago when the love they once shared had calcified into routine. Their marriage wasn't broken, it was on autopilot. Don't forget the Andersons' dinner on Friday, Linda said without looking up. Daniel nodded. I won't. It was always like that now. Cold, efficient, hollow. Their conversations revolved around appointments, bills, neighborhood events. The intimacy had bled out slowly, unnoticed at first, like a slow leak under a floorboard, until one day there was nothing left but the structure. The house was still full. The marriage was not. Daniel glanced toward the window. Across the street, number 52 had its porch light on, and with it, a woman stood silhouetted in the glow, mug in hand, robe drawn loosely around her waist. Jennifer Johnson. He didn't know much about her, only that she'd moved in 6 months ago with her husband Mark. But what he did know was enough to unnerve him. She was magnetic, not in the cliché rom-com sense. She was something else entirely, unpredictable, vibrant, in a way that made everything around her seem dull by comparison. Where Linda was polished and calculated, Jennifer was spontaneous, untamed. She sang off-key while watering her plants. She danced barefoot in the rain. She waved at Daniel every morning like it mattered, and this morning was no different. She caught him staring, and instead of turning away, she smiled. Not a polite smile, not neighborly. It lingered, curious, a little dangerous. Daniel looked away too late. That afternoon, he lingered in his car longer than usual after pulling into the driveway. The air conditioner hummed softly and his fingers drummed the steering wheel, unwilling to step into the silence that waited inside the house. He wasn't ready to face Linda's cool eyes. Not tonight. He wasn't ready to pretend again. Instead, he crossed the street. Jennifer was in her garden, bent over a bed of lavender. Her sundress clung to her hips and her hands were dirt-stained. Her back was to him, but she didn't flinch when he spoke. Looks like it's thriving. She turned slowly. Lavender loves being ignored, kind of like some people. Daniel smiled, unsure if it was a joke. I wouldn't know. Oh, I think you would, she said, wiping her hands on her dress, eyes locked on him. You look like someone who's forgotten what thriving feels like. That was the first real conversation they had, and it felt like a fuse had been lit. A few days later, the monthly neighborhood book club met at the Garner's house. Linda played hostess like a pageant queen, flawless smiles, spotless home, chilled rosé in crystal glasses. Women gathered around the kitchen island, chatting about a thriller novel only half had read. The room buzzed with laughter, but underneath it was a current of competition. House sizes, children's grades, vacation homes. Jennifer arrived late. She wore a red silk blouse tucked into faded jeans. Her makeup was minimal, but her presence turned heads. Not because of beauty, but because she carried herself like someone who didn't care what anyone thought. And that, in a place like Willow Creek, was revolutionary. Linda's smile tightened the moment she saw her. Glad you could make it, she said coolly. I almost didn't, Jennifer replied with a shrug, but then I remembered how much I enjoy watching the claws come out. A few of the women chuckled nervously. Daniel stood in the hallway listening, watching. Later, after everyone left, Linda was in the kitchen, scrubbing wine glasses like they'd insulted her. Daniel entered quietly. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled up. You like her, Linda said flatly, without looking at him. Daniel froze. Who? Don't insult me. He said nothing. Linda turned to him, eyes glinting with something fierce. I see the way you look at her. Daniel leaned against the counter. You don't see me anymore. She paused, surprised by the honesty in his voice. Then, because there's nothing left to see, the words hit like a slap. Neither of them spoke after that. Across the street, Mark Johnson kissed his wife's shoulder as she stared out the window at the house across from them. She didn't respond. Her fingers drummed the windowsill. Her eyes were fixed on the figure standing in the kitchen at number 47. Not Daniel. Linda. There was something too rehearsed about Linda's laugh. Something too familiar in the way she spoke to Mark during neighborhood barbecues. Jennifer had noticed it months ago. The way Linda touched his arm just a moment too long. The secret smiles, the chemistry. She wasn't jealous. She was curious. Very curious. Because Jennifer wasn't just impulsive. She was observant. And underneath her charm and wildness lived a calculating mind that missed nothing. Not her husband's infidelities, not Linda's secret glances, and definitely not the way Daniel watched her like a starving man. She smiled to herself. Pieces were already moving, and soon they would begin to fall.
If you found this story gripping, subscribe for more true crime cases that reveal the dark secrets behind everyday lives. Don't forget to like the video. It helps more people find these stories. And share this with someone who loves real-life mysteries, because sometimes the truth is more shocking than fiction.